Welcome back to Birds of a Feather. This is your daily Baltimore sports podcast. My name is Nathan Stroud, and today we've got a lot of stuff to go over regarding the Orioles and the Ravens. The Ravens today played their third and final preseason game on the road in Washington, and they went out there and destroyed the Washington Commanders in this preseason game. They won 30-3. Tyler Loop had some incredible kicks. The defense had 3 interceptions, and overall it was an amazing day for Ravens football. It was preseason, but the good news is that this is the third and final preseason game, and the next time that we see the Baltimore Ravens play football is going to be the real deal. It's going to be on primetime in Buffalo, Sunday Night Football in 2 weeks from tomorrow. So obviously, football season really now is right around the corner. Preseason is officially over with. We've got the rest of this week. We got the rest of this upcoming week, and then obviously it is game week next week. So it's going to be a ton of fun covering Ravens content. We are officially headed towards the regular season. Preseason is done. It's over with. The Ravens had some incredible performances. They had a lot of their questions answered throughout a lot of these guys that they want to know about. And the 53 main roster is set to be done on, I think, Tuesday at like 3 p.m. So the Ravens have a lot of questions. Not a lot of questions. They have a lot of decisions that they're going to have to make. A lot of hard decisions they're going to have to make regarding who they want on their roster. But they should have the outline of what they want to do based on preseason performances and stuff like that to like pretty much just round out the roster with those rotational guys and the backups and all that stuff. Because at the end of the day, that is what preseason is really about, is figuring out your full roster. We obviously know the starters for the Ravens. We obviously know the star players for the Ravens. But when it comes to the rotational guys and the Swiss Army knife guys as well, especially on defense, that's kind of the whole thing with wrapping it up and kind of putting a nice little bow on the Ravens team heading into the 2025-2026 season. But Ravens football, Ravens get a win. We're going to go over that first. But after that, we are going to be going over the Orioles game that just ended about like 25 minutes ago. The Orioles did unfortunately lose to the Houston Astros, which means that they have officially lost this 4-game series, and they have to avoid getting swept tomorrow. And if they get swept in a 4-game series, that's embarrassing as it is. But the Orioles lose. They lost on Thursday, they lost yesterday, and they lost today. So they are already down 3 games in this series against the Astros. Game 4 is the final game in this 4-game series. That is tomorrow early. And we do have Trevor Rogers on the mound, but if the Orioles lose tomorrow, they get swept in a 4-game series. But if they win, they still lose the series, but at least they avoid getting swept. So tomorrow, obviously, we're going to be rooting for we're going to be rooting for Trevor Rogers to go out there and continue to do what he's been doing all year. But unfortunately, the Orioles lose today's game 9-8. It was a very, very hard-fought game by the offense. That is the biggest positive that I can really say throughout this game, is that the offense really did not give up. The Orioles were down 5-0 in the first inning before they even had a chance to bat. Dean Kramer gave up 3 home runs in the first inning. It was a horrible showcase. It was probably the worst inning he's had all year, and probably one of the worst innings he's had in his career as well. He gave up 3 home runs to the Astros in the first inning, gave up 5 runs in general, and we were down 5-0 before we even had a chance to bat and even had a chance to put runs up on the board. But the Orioles were able to tie the game, and then eventually the Astros would go up like 7-5. Then then the Orioles would be able to tie it 7-7. Again, guys, look, we've got Ravens, we got Orioles content. There's a lot of stuff going on regarding both, so sorry for the mix-up there. But the Orioles do. They fought very hard today. The offense went out there and fought very hard. They hit a couple of home runs. Jeremiah Jackson had his first big league home run, which is really cool to see. Samuel Basallo had a double in this game. Didn't have the overall greatest game, went 1 for 5 with a double. But and then Dylan Beavers, someone that I really have to highlight. He has been incredible for the Orioles this year since he's been called up just last week. Dylan Beavers has been fantastic for the Orioles. He's gotten on base in every game he's played. He had a 2-hit day today. Just overall excellent work from him. And then before we go over the game, I do want to go over a little bit of what was said at the Samuel Basallo press conference, because obviously, as you guys know, a couple of days ago, Samuel Basallo signed a 8-year, $67 million contract extension. He is currently the youngest player in baseball. They signed him to an 8-year deal, where in a few years, it might be one of the best valued contracts in the entire league based on the value that Samuel Basallo is going to bring to this team for him only to be getting paid so little on that contract. But it still is a long-term extension. The Orioles committing to a player long-term is pretty rare and kind of unheard of over the past 7 years since Mike Elias has been in office. But speaking of Mike Elias and speaking of David Rubenstein, there's a lot of quotes that I do want to go over today that were said from them during the press conference, and also a little quote that Gunnar Henderson had for the media today when they asked him about a possible contract extension. So we're going to go over that right after the Ravens game, but let's just recap this Ravens game. So going over this Ravens game, obviously the Ravens went out there today in their third and final preseason game and won 30-3 over the Washington Commanders. The Ravens, again, 3-0 in the preseason, undefeated in the preseason. Shout out to the Ravens. Shout out to this secondary group for them as well. But today, Devin Leary, Cooper Rush got the start in today's game. He went 5 for 5 with 59 yards, by far the best he's looked in preseason. Even though it was only for a little bit, he still went out there and looked good. Devin Leary actually played pretty solid. Completion percentage-wise, he played solid, but yards-wise, it was not there. Devin Leary, I'm telling y'all right now, Devin Leary will not make the roster come the next few days. I would bet money on it. Devin Leary just has not been playing well. Today, completion percentage-wise, it wasn't bad. He went 17 for 23 for 71 yards. He had 17 completions for 71 yards, averaged 3 yards per completion. That is horrible. That is not going to cut it. Obviously, he is the QB3 for the Ravens, and usually the Ravens go into seasons with only 2 quarterbacks, so it was kind of, it made sense that Devin Leary, we knew that Devin Leary is not going to be on the roster. But going over to the rushing, 34 total carries, 102 yards, only averaged 3 yards a carry, so the rushing wasn't anything crazy. I will say the biggest difference maker in this game wasn't really the offense, it was 100% the defense in this game, and also Tyler Loop. Tyler Loop made 3 field goals in this game, including a 61-yarder, and he had a 50-yarder as well. And the defense had 3 turnovers. They caused 3 turnovers. They had 3 interceptions, including a pick 6. So the defense was the thing that really, really dominated in this game. Shout out to Zach Gore. He's getting these guys right. The mindset is there, and he's really settling in nicely as the Ravens defensive coordinator. Obviously, early on last season, in his first year as defensive coordinator, we saw quite a few, hiccups earlier throughout the season, but he is looked locked in with this secondary group in not just the secondary group, but just overall the defense in general this preseason, and I think he's going to carry that over easily to the regular season. And with all the talent that's going to be on this team come regular season time on the defense, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch Zach Gore orchestrate these guys. So, but going back to the rushing, again, 34 carries, 102 yards. 3 yards carry, not very good game rushing-wise, but we did run the ball a lot because we were up by so much throughout the game. We scored 20 points in the second quarter of this game. It was 27-3 going into halftime. So the second half was very uneventful, but the Ravens really put it on in the second quarter of this game. Dearness Johnson had 17 carries for 45 yards and a touchdown. Rasheen Ali had 9 carries for 36 yards and a touchdown. And then Devin Leary, Myles Gaskin, LaJohntay Wester, they didn't really do anything. But I will say, Dearness Johnson played solid, but it is not really looking like Dearness Johnson is going to make the roster. I think it is going to be Rasheen Ali that makes it. There is a lot of rumors. John Harbaugh kind of hinted to it after the game that they were going to roll with 4 running backs going into the year, which is obviously going to be Derrick Henry, Justice Hill, Keaton Mitchell, and probably Rasheen Ali, which is going to be really cool to see. Somebody who went to Marshall, had a very good productive year at Marshall 2 years ago. Last season didn't really play at all, but this year in preseason he's shown a lot of flashes as well. 4 yards a carry today, not too bad from him. But going over to the receiving aspect, again, Only 130 total receiving yards in this game by these guys. LeJontay Wester led everybody in yards. He had 2 catches for 28 yards. Scotty Washington had 4 catches for 20 yards. Dearness Johnson had a couple of catches. And just overall, again, the receiving volume was not there. Only 130 passing yards total. Only 102 rushing yards total as well. So, again, the offense was not the focal point of this game. It was all about the defense. And if we go over and look at the defense here, you can see a ton of guys had great days today. Jay Higgins continues to play incredible. He had a QB hit. Ruben Lowry played good. He had 7 total tackles, 3 solo tackles. Trenton Simpson went out there and had a good game today. He had 1.5 sacks, a tackle for loss, and 6 total tackles on the day. Teddy Buchanan had half a sack. Only 2 total sacks in this game. Obviously, 1.5 came from Trent Simpson. The other half a sack came from Buchanan. So shout out to them. But the guys who really played incredible in this game. Also, Malachi Starks did not play in this game. And then Mike Green played very, very little. He was able to record a tackle. But going over to the big part of this game. Well, this part and one more part. But it was the interceptions for the Ravens. The Ravens had 3 interceptions in this game. They, obviously got 3 interceptions in this game. The Commanders threw 3 interceptions. Sam Hartman threw 2. Josh Johnson. Shout out to Josh Johnson, by the way, former Ravens legend. Used to be on the Ravens just last year. But if you go over and look, 3 interceptions for this Ravens defense. Shout out to them. Jalen Armour Davis, obviously we know him. He had an interception. Thomas Graham Jr. had an interception. And Keon Martin, had a pick 6 in this game. Shout out to him. Keon Martin, pick 6 that might have secured his roster spot. Who knows? But a pick 6 in the final game of preseason is very, very cool to see. So a pick 6 for Keon Martin, an interception for Thomas Graham, and an interception for Jalen Armour Davis. 3 interceptions for this Ravens defense. They absolutely balled out today. And they only held the Commanders to 3 total points in this game. And going over to the kicking, because this was another very, very big thing in this game. And that's Tyler Loop, man. That is Tyler Loop. He went 3 for 3 in this game, made all of his field goals, and the longest one he made was a 61-yarder. I know he also made a 50-yarder as well. 12 total points for him. He has been incredible. He's had a few misses here and there, but again, he's a rookie kicker. He's somebody that we knew struggled a little bit with accuracy, but we knew that the leg was there. But overall, Tyler Loop has really shown how great he can be and how he really deserves this starting spot going into the regular season. Obviously, Tyler Loop is officially the kicker for the Ravens heading into this year, and he had a pretty good preseason. Last week against the Cowboys, I think he made, 5 field goals, including a 50-yarder. Today he made a 61-yarder and made all of his field goals on the road in Washington. So shout out to him. But overall, an absolute dominant performance by the Ravens in this game. A 30-3 win. And the next time that we cover a Ravens game and the next time that we have a Ravens game recap is going to be against the Buffalo Bills. Week 1, Sunday Night Football. I cannot wait for that revenge game. Obviously, Lamar Jackson and this entire Ravens team and everybody who was on that team last year in that in the divisional game, obviously they're coming with vengeance. Lamar Jackson has said it multiple times this offseason that this team is coming with vengeance. They understand how heartbreaking that loss is, and they have a chance to not fully redeem themselves, obviously, because it's just a regular season game. But they are playing with a chip on their shoulder, especially in this game. And someone who I know, or 2 people that I know are playing with chips on their shoulder, is Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews. I cannot wait to see what the Ravens do in this game against Buffalo. I really think they're going to go out there and do their thing. Last year, they played Kansas City week 1 right after they lost to them in the AFC Championship game, and unfortunately, it was a heartbreaking loss. If y'all remember, the toe barely being out of bounds for Isaiah Likely was heartbreaking way to open up the year. But the Ravens and the Bills have the first primetime game of the year in Buffalo, and we have a chance to really get revenge on Buffalo for what happened. And I know a lot of these guys are going to play with a chip on their shoulder. But now, kind of switching our focus over to the Orioles. Obviously, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see this picture here. It is a picture of Samuel Basallo, Kobe Perez, who is the international scout, Samuel Basallo, Mike Elias, obviously the GM, and David Rubenstein, who is the owner. They had their press conference today. it's a weird sight. Orioles players really don't get press conferences, obviously, but there was a press conference today, and a lot of very interesting questions were asked. It wasn't a very long press conference at all, but a couple of quotes that really stood out to me was Mike Elias during Samuel Basallo's contract extension press conference. He said, "We hope we're just getting started." And then David Rubenstein also said, I think people are going to be really happy in Baltimore with what we field the next year." Basically saying, Mike Elias is saying that they hope that they're just getting started, which, implies obviously that they hope that they can get more extensions done and also just more moves done in general. As you can see here, Orioles David Rubenstein, Mike Elias hope a Basallo extension is just the start. We're committed to doing more of these as soon as we can. We hope we're just getting started. So again, the idea is that this Basallo extension really does open up the door for more player extensions for guys like Gunnar Henderson, for guys like Jordan Westburg, for guys like Jackson Holliday, even for guys like Trevor Rogers. It just opens the door for these extensions. And again, this is a very big step in the right direction when it comes to the future of this team, when it comes to this upcoming offseason, when it comes to 2026 Orioles season. This is a very big step in the right direction. So overall, lots of positive comments from Mike Elias, lots of positive comments from David Rubenstein. But again, I'll see it when I believe it. You know what I mean? Or sorry, I'll believe it when I see it. They can say this. You know what I mean? They can say that they hope they're just getting started. They can say that they want to extend more people. They can say that people are going to be happy with what we do this offseason in terms of spending money, whether that's obviously on getting another quality starter or revamping the bullpen or finding a closer or whatever it is, or extensions, whatever it is. I'll believe it whenever I see it, because they got to go out there. They can't just be all talk. You know what I'm saying? They got to go out there and actually get the job done. They got to go out there and spend the money. They got to go out there and not even take the risk. They just got to go out there and put the money on the table and make this team in the best position possible going into next season. David Rubenstein said in today's press conference, he was saying something like he wants this team to be able to win a World Series because he understands the young talent that they have. He understands that they have their hitting core. Now they just got to surround them with the right pitching talent for them to actually win games and be in games. And very much like an example of today's game. What happened in today's game we've seen multiple times this year. It's a very frustrating loss because the offense plays so well, but the pitching just plays so bad that you still end up losing. That is something that needs to not happen for the Orioles next season. Obviously, it's going to happen every so often, but it's just something that needs to really be limited next year. Because again, the biggest problem with the Orioles this year in terms of an on-the-field thing was the pitching. It was the starting pitching. It was the starting pitching, just not being able to overall just be in games ever. It just felt like the Orioles were always out of a game because the pitching was just so tremendous early on. And just overall, getting another quality starter, obviously getting Cal Bradish back, hopefully getting Grayson Rodriguez back, getting another quality starter alongside Trevor Rogers. And, I'll say Dean Kramer, even though he did not have a good start at all today, I will still trust him overall as like a veteran guy. But we'll see what happens going into next season. We'll see if they actually decide to go out there and make the money moves in terms of extensions or off-season pickups, but we'll see what happens with that. All we got to do is just sit back, wait and see. We have the quotes here. So if something doesn't end up happening, if we don't decide to extend anybody, if we don't go out there and lay the money on the table to go get an actual closer to replace Felix or just revamp the bullpen or maybe get another sort of quality starter, we have these quotes to go back on. So we'll see what happens with that. But this was a very interesting quote that was said today. They asked Gunnar Henderson if he'd consider a contract extension with the Orioles, and he said, if they bring it there, then I'll definitely look at my team and be happy to look over it. What matters to me long-term is considering, and then they asked him what matters to him most when considering to sign somewhere else long-term. He said, I want to be in a winning culture. That's the number one thing for me. Losing doesn't sit well with me. I want to be in a place where I can win, and hopefully they'll continue to show that. But we'll see. Again, that right there, that quote does not make me very confident that we're going to re-sign Gunnar Henderson. The whole quote of him saying winning culture and also I'll definitely look at it with my team and be happy to look over it. Those quotes are very eerie. You know what I mean? It's not very a big confirmation in any means, but again, the winning culture thing. The Orioles haven't won a World Series in over 40 years. it's been a lot of struggles for this team. And if you want to say the Orioles are a winning culture, they're not. They're not a winning culture yet. They were on pace last season, and obviously the past 2 years. 2 years ago they had the best record in the American League. Last season they were competing with the Yankees all the way down the stretch for the division. They ended up still having 91 wins. But overall, the whole winning culture thing, it was on pace to become that, this year, but it just wasn't. Obviously, the past 2 years were great. Then you hit a road bump with injuries and bad starting pitching play. And, here we are at 59-70 on the year. But again, this was definitely not something that I wanted to hear from Gunnar Henderson. But again, when it gets to that point of when we, want to extend him, it gets to that point. But it is a very eerie quote that we do need to look out for. And the last thing that we're going to go over in today's episode is obviously the Orioles and Astros game. The Orioles lose this game 9-8 to the Houston Astros. They obviously lose this series. No matter what happens tomorrow, they already have lost the series. If the Orioles win tomorrow, they avoid getting swept. But if they lose, then they do get swept in the 4-game series. Overall, the offense played great. Hit a couple of homers. Overall, offense was great, but unfortunately, Dean Kramer gave up 5 runs in the first inning. And even though the Orioles were able to crawl back into this game and tie the game by the second inning, even though they were able to come back into this game and fight as hard as they could, the pitching was just too disastrous by this Orioles team, and unfortunately, they lose this game. Dean Kramer gives up 7 runs in this game. Really 6 earned, but 7 total. 3 home runs. Just a horrible outing from Dean Kramer. But this Orioles offense was able to come back and tie the game and do good. It just wasn't enough. And it's felt like that a lot of games this year. Not too many, but it's felt like this a lot of games this year. But this Orioles offense does show up and play good. But it's just not enough because the pitching is just too disastrous. There's obviously been a lot of games as well where we lose 24-2, for example, where it's just an absolute slaughter from the beginning. But going over this offense, 9 total hits on the day for the Orioles, went 4 for 13 with runners in scoring position, left 7 guys on base. Jackson Holliday was leading off. He went 0 for 4 with 2 runs scored and a walk. Jeremiah Jackson, shout out to Jeremiah Jackson, by the way. I'll continue to just preach this into the world. Jeremiah Jackson, since he's been called up by the Orioles right after the trade deadline, he has been so unbelievably good for this team. He's had, I think, now 60 at-bats. He has a .339 average in 60 at-bats, and today he had a 2-hit game, went 2 for 4 with 2 runs, 2 RBIs, and obviously his first home run of his career. It was a solo home run, and then he ended up driving in the run in the 8th inning to make it a 1-run game. So Jeremiah Johnson with some very clutch runs scored in this game. Shout out to Jeremiah Jackson. He's been incredible. A .339 average right now. It's the highest average of this entire Orioles team. And the second highest average is also someone who just got called up recently that we'll go over in just a second. But Jeremiah Jackson has been incredible, and there's not enough good things I can say about the guy. Very good utility guy. He can play third. He's been playing left. He's been playing right. And he is somebody that needs to be, in my opinion, he needs to be on this team next year. I don't think that he's going to start next year if everyone's healthy. But as a bench guy, he can be incredibly useful and helpful, especially with next year. Colton Cowser, obviously, he's gone through a lot of injuries. Tyler O'Neill, we understand he's injury prone, but a guy like Jeremiah Jackson to come up and do what he's been doing going into next year as well would be so unbelievably valuable for this Orioles team. So shout out to Jeremiah Jackson. Gunnar Henderson went 1 for 4 with an RBI and a run scored and a walk, so he got on base twice. Ryan Mountcastle went 1 for 5 with 2 RBIs in this game. Colton Cowser went 2 for 5 with a home run. Shout out to Colton Cowser, man. He had a solo home run in this game as well. And he also had a 2-run single early on in the game as well to actually tie the game. That was actually in the first inning. It ended up, making this within a 2-run game early on. But Colton Cowser, 2-hit day, went 2 for 5, 3 RBIs, a solo home run. Shout out to Colton Cowser. A big day from him. And then Samuel Basallo went 1 for 5 with a strikeout. He went 1 for 5 with a double. It was a laser to deep center field. Went off the top of the wall. A near home run again. That's like the second time it's been a near home run for Samuel. Well, really, actually the third time. Today he almost had a home run and went off the wall in deep center field. And then I remember the game in Boston where he hit a double off the top of the monster. When it was an opposite field shot, it went off the top of the monster. That was his first double of his career, actually. It was a double off the top of the monster. That one was almost a home run. Obviously, the one today off the top of the deep center field wall. And then in his first game where his home run that he hit got robbed by Jesus Sanchez, where, we hit a ball that cleared the fence, but Jesus Sanchez made a great play to rob it. So he's almost had 3 home runs. Three very hard hit, close home runs for Samuel Basallo. Still does not have that first home run yet, but I guarantee you it will not take too much longer. We won't have to wait too much longer. He's hitting the ball extremely hard. We understand that he's elevating the ball well. We understand that he's elevating the ball well. So soon enough, we'll see that Basallo home run, and it'll be well worth it. Kobe Mayo went 0 for 3 in this game. Yesterday, he did get hit in the hand, and it was very interesting to see him back out there today, but that's also really good to see that he's not hurt. Kobe Mayo's average is down to a 198, which is not very good to see. Kobe Mayo, whenever he first got called back up, he was playing a little bit bad, and then he started playing great, and now he's kind of been on a little bit of a slump here recently with a lot of strikeouts as well. Which is disappointing, but again, you got to get him these reps this year, and then going into next year or going into spring training, really, we'll see what happens from there. But you still got to give Kobe Mayo those first base reps and still have him play pretty much every day. Dylan Beavers in this game. Again, someone else who has been so unbelievably incredible for this Orioles team since he's been called up. He's reached base in every game he's played. He didn't draw a walk today, but he did go 2 for 4 with 2 runs scored. He had a leadoff double in the 8th inning, which Jeremiah Jackson ended up bringing him home. So shout out to Dylan Beavers for just being so good for this Orioles team ever since he's gotten called up. And we knew that this was what he was going to be like. We understand that he's a contact guy. We understand he's a high average guy, and that's what he's been. A 333 average, 484 on base percentage, and a 542 slug. Those are incredible stats to start your Orioles career, Dylan Beavers. So shout out to him. Machine, he did not get a hit today. He did draw a walk, though. But overall, the Orioles offense, couple of home runs from Jeremiah Jackson and Colton Cowser. Got on base quite a lot, scored 8 runs, but unfortunately it just was not enough. Because if we go over to the pitching here, Dean Kramer, horrible start. One of his worst starts of the year for him. 5 innings, 7 hits, 6 runs, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts, 3 home runs, and 5 of those 6 earned runs all came in the first inning. Just very, very unfortunate for Dean Kramer. Very just bad outing from him in general. But we've seen this a lot from him this year. We've also seen some incredible starts from him this year. So it's just disappointing that it has to be like this sometimes with Dean Kramer. But we understand that this is kind of just who he is. And I guess you just got to move on with it. Dentrich ends in this game did get credited the loss, actually, because he got through 2 innings of work, gave up 3 hits, 2 runs, and a homer. It was a 2-run home run to Christian Walker, which ended up giving the Astros the 9-7 lead after it was tied 7-7. So that's why he gets credited the loss. And then Geraldo and Garcia both get through the 8th and 9th innings and don't give up a run. So, but overall, the pitching was just horrible from Kramer and Enns. Just not a good day overall for the pitching. Again, when you give up 9 runs, you're not going to win a lot of those games. But so far in the first 3 games of this series, the Astros have scored 7 runs, the Astros have scored 10 runs, and the Astros have scored 9 runs in the first 3 games of the series. And if you remember, just last weekend, we shut them out twice. So baseball is a very weird sport. This is the exact same team that we're playing in back-to-back weekends, and one weekend they don't do anything, and then the next weekend they absolutely destroy us. It's just baseball, I guess. You know what I mean? It's a funny sport. But tomorrow, in Game 4 of this series, it's the last game of this series. Orioles win, they avoid the sweep. Orioles lose, they get swept. It's going to be Spencer Arrighetti versus the demon and GOAT himself, Trevor Rogers. And hopefully what happened today and yesterday does not happen tomorrow. And I think that we can trust Trevor Rogers to get the job done. And I think that we can obviously trust Trevor Rogers to just limit the damage as much as possible. And hopefully Trevor Rogers can just continue his incredible outings this season for what he's done this year in his past 76 innings. Hopefully he can continue to just play great and continue to do what he's been doing. And the Trevor Rogers ace propaganda can just continue. But thank you guys so much for tuning into and listening to this episode of Birds of a Feather. I know this episode is a little bit longer, but there was a lot of stuff to go over. Ravens, Orioles, press conference, all that stuff. But again, if you like this content, make sure to subscribe on YouTube, follow up on Spotify, make sure to like the video on YouTube as well. Also make sure to follow the Twitter and the Instagram and the link of whatever bio of whatever platform you're listening on. Make sure to give those a follow for live updates on everything. But yeah, I appreciate you guys so much. I appreciate all the support for real. It means the absolute world to me. There's going to be some very big changes coming soon here in the next couple of weeks, so make sure to stay tuned with that. But again, you guys mean the absolute world to me. All the support, whether it's 5 of you, whether it's 5,000 of you, you guys mean the world to me, man. And I appreciate you so much for letting me go on here and just talk about the things that I'm most passionate about, obviously, which is Ravens and Orioles and just Baltimore sports in general. And we've got a lot of very interesting stuff coming up. Obviously, 2 weeks from tomorrow is the start of the Ravens season, and we're obviously going to go over some Ravens stuff throughout the next 2 weeks. And then obviously we've got the Orioles games still for the next little over a month. So lots of stuff to go over. Football season's coming up. Ravens season's still, Ravens season's coming up. Orioles season is still happening. It's been a long journey, but this is just the beginning, and I appreciate you guys so much. So I'll see you guys tomorrow for Game 4 of this 4-game series. Hopefully Trevor Rogers can put on a show, and hopefully the Orioles can avoid getting swept and avoid getting embarrassed. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. You have a great Steelers day. Go O's, go Ravens, and I'll see y'all later. Peace out.